Hi and welcome back to the garden. Today is Sunday, June 6th. We're going to commemorate D-Day by taking a look at our version of their victory garden. It's a sustainable garden. Actually, it's a regenerative garden. I don't know if that's what I set out to do, but that's what we've got here, and you can do this too. Let's take a look at a few things you can do at your house to create a regenerative, sustainable, weed-free, deep mulch garden. Now, we stumbled upon no-till simply because we didn't want to weed anymore. And by putting down a nice layer of deep mulch, not only did I create a virtually weed-free garden, it's sustainable and it's regenerating. You can do this too. The first thing you can do to create a sustainable, regenerating garden is get rid of the chemicals. Number two, you want to keep the soil covered. You just keep the ground covered in a deep mulch. Now the soil is a natural seed bank, and if it's left bare, it will grow something. It wants to stay covered. So if you keep your soil covered, then you can choose what plants grow there. But also by keeping it covered, look how you improve the soil. And by keeping it covered, you get lots of life that helps you break down this material, helps improve the soil. Thank you. This was hard clay soil. And that's okay. Clay has lots of nutrients locked up in it. So the generations and that web of life underneath the ground, I think of sort of as a rainforest canopy. And if you till, you tear that all up. This plant is making sugars and it's trading it with all of the mycorrhizomes that are underneath the soil. They're grabbing the nutrients out of the clay. To have a sustainable garden or a rejuvenating garden, we don't pull this up at the end of its lifespan. We'll cut it off and leave those roots in there. That will also help the next generation have a pathway for its roots. It will also not disturb the life structure underneath the ground. I was asked a fascinating question the other day, why carbon banks are going to reward no-till farmers. It's not for the reason you think. The soil captures and absorbs carbon almost as well as the oceans. Not just in the plants, not just in the organic matter. By not tilling it in, we do not disturb the life underneath the ground. Number three, compost. Whether it's a hot compost or a cold compost. Composting. Did you know a huge majority of the American household waste goes to landfill, where it could be going to sustain the garden? Grass clippings. Americans have a fascination with a beautifully manicured lawn. How much energy do we use hauling this off to the landfill when it could be used to help a regenerative sustainability in your garden? By laying down some compost over your garden, kickstarts the carbon capture process. Number four, biodiversity. By trying to create a sustainable garden, we've created a rejuvenating garden. And having the biodiversity in here, we've got some lettuce, cilantro, and beets all going to seed at the same time. We could have just pulled these all up, but we're not ready to plant anything here. We want to keep the ground covered. Seeds produced in the area in which you're going to plant them tend to make stronger plants. Squash, corn, beans, potatoes. Look how well they all grow together. And number five, within your biodiversity, grow food. Companion planting, zinnias, basil, tomatoes, oregano. They all work well together and it is part of the regenerative garden. Squash and beans living side by side. I know you've heard me say it a dozen times, but the better the mulch, the better the soil. The better the soil, the better the plant. The better the plant, the more resistance it is to pests. You know, I stumbled across this because I did not want to weed. And by coming up with a method so I didn't have to weed, I found out how well the plants do. Since I don't care whether I'm in a straight row, my biodiversity came by accident. But I thought y'all might be interested. Not only are you capturing carbon, you're creating a sustainable garden. I hope that answers your question about why carbon banks might be willing to reward no-till gardeners. The more carbon we can capture, the better off the planet will be. And I guarantee you the better off your garden will be. So until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant.
Let's go plant garden.